In the 1920s, American industrialist Henry Ford introduced the idea of a 5-day workweek. The proposal, heartily endorsed by Paramahansa brought forth the response in this article. The word holiday comes from the term holy day, symbolizing a time for introspective thinking and nurturing one's sacred soul qualities. One of the 10 Commandments instructs, "Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy," a day meant for rest and spiritual renewal. Christians observe the Sabbath on Sunday, a day to bask in the sunlight of wisdom. Hindus also reserve several days each year for spiritual purposes. Holidays like Easter, Thanksgiving, and Christmas correspond to some of the sacred days celebrated by Hindus, such as the Durga Puja festival, widely observed in India, much like Christmas in the West. Man is both a spiritual and a material being. He should develop himself spiritually through inner discipline, while also becoming materially efficient by honing his business faculties. In earlier times, primitive man focused his mental faculties on satisfying his material needs through hunting, eating, and sleeping. Today, modern man has developed scientific methods to meet the material demands of life, which indirectly improves his inner faculties. The masters of India, however, encourage direct development of the inner faculties, such as strengthening the will to resist temptation, nurturing compassion for others, and using intuition to realize truth directly. If making money to secure material comforts is necessary, then making happiness is even more crucial. Possession of material wealth without inner peace is like dying of thirst while bathing in a lake. People desire different things: money, fame, or spirituality, shaped by early habits and environmental influences. This is why the people of both the East and the West often lead unbalanced lives. The East tends to be more spiritually inclined, while the West is more focused on material success. However, neither side can live happily by relying solely on spiritual doctrines or material riches. To lead a fulfilled life, people of both the East and West must learn to balance their spiritual and material pursuits. Most people spend 6 days a week making money, and even spend the 7th day thinking about it, leaving little time for self-development. This imbalance is a significant reason for the high rates of crime, murder, and robbery in the West, despite its advanced civilization. People are so consumed by their pursuit of material comforts that they neglect moral and spiritual principles. While avoiding material poverty is important, spiritual poverty should be abhorred, for it is the root cause of all human suffering. A practical spiritual person is a happy person, and only a happy person can be truly successful. No amount of material prosperity will prevent crime or unhappiness in a city. A harmonious, healthy, and prosperous society is only possible when people follow universal principles of mutual service, spontaneous cooperation, love for the spiritual life, and discipline of their desires. Official reports show that nearly $1 billion are stolen each year by young men and women aged 15 to 30. In New York, 400,000 more meals were served in jails this year compared to last year. Why is this happening? Because the average person's attention is not focused on the art of living. Why not use some of the money spent on building and maintaining jails to create how-to-live schools to prevent children from becoming criminals? Instead of releasing criminals back into society after they have grown worse in jail, we should focus on teaching people how to live balanced lives. Many people say, "I'm too busy with my business to think about the art of living. I'll get to it someday, but right now I need to focus on making money." But what good is money if you achieve wealth at the cost of your health, happiness, and peace of mind? Since we have physical bodies to care for and need money to meet our basic needs, we must earn money honestly and by serving the true needs of others. Business doesn't have to be a purely material pursuit. Ambition in business can be spiritualized. Business is, at its core, about serving others materially in the best possible way. Companies that focus solely on making money are quickly identified as commercial enterprises, while businesses that serve their customers' needs with the best products at reasonable prices will succeed and contribute to the moral development of society. I once encountered a fine salesman who said, "Sir, I'm not just trying to sell you something. I'm trying to find out exactly what you need." He didn't push the most expensive product on me, but recommended something that suited my needs at a reasonable price. That approach earned him a loyal customer. People should spiritualize their business ambitions by starting with the intention to serve others. Not only should one make money by serving others, but one should also use that money to create institutions that serve public needs. Wealth should be used to help others help themselves. Wealthy parents who leave too much money for their children stifle their development of self-earned success and happiness. Even those with great mental faculties must use ambition. Otherwise, they are doing themselves a disservice and setting a poor example for others. This is why I agree with Henry Ford's philosophy of helping people help themselves rather than encouraging dependency through charity. Only by combining ambition with the ideal of service will materially ambitious people find a spiritual reason for making money. People in the East, particularly in India, have traditionally been more spiritually inclined, taking life philosophically and nurturing a tendency toward contemplation. Unfortunately, some use their leisure time for laziness rather than spiritual realization. However, they generally have an awakened spiritual perception. Westerners, on the other hand, have devoted themselves to developing material and intellectual aspects of life. But they often become too busy to enjoy the fruits of their labor or experience peace, relaxation, and the joy of meditation. They become enslaved by less important activities and forget their highest engagement with God and the blissful ideal life. With the advantages of technology, Westerners have the opportunity to advance further in their spiritual lives. Business and material success should serve to enhance the quality of life, not detract from happiness and the pursuit of higher goals. Working 6 days a week and dedicating only part of Sunday to the cultivation of one's inner self is not a balanced way of life. Instead, the week should be divided between work, leisure, and spiritual growth. 5 days for work, 1 day for rest and enjoyment, and at least 1 day for introspection and inner realization. In the fast-paced Western world, this balance is needed more than ever. A 5-day work week, as proposed by Henry Ford, would give people time to escape the stresses of city life and refresh themselves in nature. According to a study by the Chicago Chief of Police, man's longevity could be increased by 11 years if city noise was eliminated, allowing the nervous system to calm down. People lose their balance and suffer from money madness and business mania because they haven't had the opportunity to develop habits for a balanced life. It's not just our thoughts or ideas, but our everyday habits that control our lives. While some conscientious business people make millions without becoming nervous or unbalanced, many others become so absorbed in making money that they forget to enjoy life until something terrible happens to them, such as sickness or loss of happiness. Both children and adults need to be educated in balanced living. A child's mind is malleable and can be shaped with the guidance of self-disciplined adults. It's easier to cultivate good habits in children because their wills are relatively free from ingrained tendencies. However, adults must battle old habits to make room for new, positive ones. Habits, whether in children or adults, must be cultivated through spontaneous willingness. Children should be raised with spiritual ambition, learning to make money for the sake of service. Modern children are often raised with the idea that money-making is the ultimate goal, leading some to resort to unethical methods to achieve wealth. This mentality must be changed by educating today's children to live balanced lives. Many business leaders already manage to work only 5 days a week, from 9 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, leaving time for leisure. However, instead of using that time for spiritual growth, they often spend it playing golf or going to the movies. To live a balanced life, adults must understand that business ambitions should be about making ourselves and others happy. Without this purpose, excessive business activity leads to nervousness, greed, and disrespect for good principles. Henry Ford has ushered in a new era of spiritualizing business life by proposing the 5-day work week. As Jesus said, the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. People should use Sunday as a day for spiritual growth, not just relaxation. I know many successful business people who secretly crave God and wisdom, but are too caught up in their work and social engagements. Their highest engagement, spiritual growth, and the pursuit of truth, is often sacrificed for money-making. It is essential to work together to make Saturday a day for relaxation and Sunday a day for spiritual culture. By doing so, people can strike a balance between material and spiritual pursuits. Man's greatest need is to find more time to simplify his life, enjoy nature, and develop his relationships with loved ones. Most importantly, to deepen his understanding of himself and his connection with God.